Hi, my name's Melissa and welcome to this strength and flexibility flow. We will be cultivating strength and flexibility throughout the whole entire body, mostly focusing on opening through the hamstrings, the side body and the shoulders. I hope you enjoy it, this creative Vinyasa flow. We are going to get started in a child's pose. So coming down onto the mat, separate the knees slightly apart and take the toes to touch back behind you. Start to extend the arms out in front of you. Then placing your forehead down onto the mat, maybe onto a block. And just take a big full inhale through the nose. Make this a really energizing breath. Hold the breath at the very top. And then exhale, let it go. Let's do two more just like that. Big inhale through the nose. Hold. And exhale, release. Last time, inhale through the nose. And exhale, release. And just start to build your Ujjayi breath, your yogic breath. So breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Taking a few breaths in your own time. And we'll start to synchronize our breath. So as you inhale through the nose, breathe in for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. And two more. Inhale. Exhale. And take one last breath. Inhale. And exhale. And slowly, slowly, just coming up to an all-fours position, planting the hands down firmly underneath the shoulders, the knees directly underneath the hips width distance apart, the toes pointing backwards, and try to plant down through all 10 toenails. Connecting into your core, shoulder blades are spreading wide and they're wrapping around the back. As you inhale, you're going to drop the belly, lifting upwards through the chest, the heart moves forward. Exhale, rounding into the spine. And let's do 4 more rounds. Inhale, finding length and space. And exhale, rounding into the spine. 3 more rounds. Inhale. And exhale. And 2 more rounds of cat and cow, just starting to open into the spine. As you drop the belly, lift up through the chest, the heart moves forward. As you exhale, rounding, curling everything into center. And last round, inhale. And exhale. And slowly coming back to this neutral spine position, core is engaged. Start to extend the right fingertips out in front of you and start to extend that left leg back behind you, drawing the tailbone under, engaging into your core, pressing firmly into that left hand. Start to reach the right arm off. Maybe you start to extend the left leg off. Take 3 more breaths here, finding your stability, finding your balance. It really helps to gaze directly underneath your nose and really feel that someone's pulling you from your fingertips. Someone's also pulling you from your left heel. Take 1 last breath. And then slowly sweep that right arm out towards the right side, so fingertips pointing forward. And then start to extend that left leg out to the side. Really feel that someone's pulling you from your right fingertips, someone's pulling you from your left heel. And you can really feel the connection into center, but you can really feel this nice stretch across that left hip. Take 1 last breath. Inhale, slowly releasing, coming back to center, extending the arm, extending the leg. Plant the right hand down onto the floor and keep the left leg lifted. Spin the left toes out towards the left side of the mat And placing the sole of that left foot, lining it up with that right heel. And then place the right shoulder directly on top of the right wrist. And start to come onto the fingertips of the left hand. And inhale, reach that left arm all the way up to the sky. So we're in this modified side plank. So really dome up through the right ribs. Feel the extension through the left ribs. And maybe you sweep that left arm all the way up and over by the ear, relaxing the fingers. And take one last breath. And slowly planting the left hand down onto the floor. And we'll come back, left knee in. Going for the opposite side. Left fingertips move forward this time. Start to extend that right leg back behind you. Just finding your stability through your right hand. Hugging those ribs in. Core is engaged, and maybe then start to extend through the arm. Extend through the leg. Take 3 more breaths. Full inhale. And full exhale. As you inhale, you're creating more space and length. As you exhale, hug everything into center. One last breath. Left arm reaches out to the side. Right leg reaches out towards the side. Breathe. 2 more breaths. And slowly releasing, planting the left hand down onto the floor, the right toes spin out towards the right side. And you place the sole of that right foot in line with the left toes, and the left toes are pointing towards that right heel. Left hand lines up directly underneath the shoulder, and the right arm sweeps up towards the sky. And doming up through the left side of the body, connecting into center, heart and chest is expansive. And maybe right arm reaches all the way up and over. And just relax the fingertips. And breathe. One last breath. And exhale, planting the hand down onto the floor, plant the knee down onto the floor, and go for one last set of cat and cow. Inhale, start to lift up through the chest, tailbone lifts high. Exhale, rounding into the spine. Slowly coming back to center, tuck the toes under, send the hips all the way up to the sky. Coming to your first downward facing dog of the day. Feet are hips width distance apart, head is fully relaxed down towards the earth. The shoulders are rolling away from the ears, biceps rolling inwards, triceps are rolling outwards, planting down firmly through all 10 knuckles, especially the index finger and the thumb, gripping with the hands. And maybe pedaling out through the feet, shaking the head yes, shaking the head no, finding a lot of movement in this downward facing dog, maybe hip swivel to the side. And keep breathing, take one last inhale, finding some stillness. One last exhale. And slowly looking forward between the hands, we'll step the feet to the front of the mat. Inhale, lengthen into the spine, feet are hips width distance apart, toes pointing forward. Exhale, fold inwards, taking hold of opposite elbows, just hang the torso loose, swaying the hips from side to side, shaking the head yes, shaking the head no. And keep the knees bent if you need them for one last breath. Exhale. Releasing the arms down towards the mat, bending into the knees, we'll roll up to standing, vertebrae by vertebrae. And the shoulders draw away from the ears, we'll come to standing, front of the mat, toes touch, heels slightly apart. And the hands move through heart center. And just feel the connection to ground, so maybe lifting up all 10 toes just for a moment, feeling the connection between the 4 corners of the feet. Noticing your posture, noticing your breath. And just setting an intention for your practice today. So notice, normally when people first start practicing yoga, they're either naturally strong or naturally more flexible. So just notice if you have one that is slightly easier than the other. In yoga, we really try to cultivate strength and flexibility. And that way we can really find balance within the whole body. And take one last breath. Exhale out. And slowly opening through the eyes. We'll go for a couple rounds of sun salutation A. Arms float either side of the body. On your next inhale, the arms sweep up and around. Palms come to touch. Exhale, hands move through heart center, hinge from the hips, forward fold. Inhale, lengthen into the spine. Exhale, planting both hands down, step both feet back, high plank, hold for a breath. Take a big inhale, setting up your foundation, setting up your core. Firmly pressing the fingertips down into the mat. Take one last inhale. Exhale, slowly lower for the count of 5 all the way down to the floor. So you might bend the knees, place the knees down onto the mat. You might keep the knees lifted. Slowly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll inhale, lift up through the chest. And go light onto the hands. You might see if you can lift both fingertips off the ground, shining the heart forward. The shoulders drop away from the ears, melting down into the back, into the shoulder blades as the elbows move back behind you. We're lifting the knees off the ground, firming the inner thighs towards each other. Planting the hands down underneath the shoulders, forehead plants down to the mat, tuck the toes under. And I'm going to be mean. We're going to get back up the same way as we came down. So you can have your knees down onto the mat or tuck the toes under. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Plank pose. And exhale, downward facing dog. Just take a moment in your downward facing dog. Take 3 breaths. Big inhale. Exhale. And 2 more breaths. Inhale. Exhale. 1 last breath, finding a lot of lightness into the pose. Look forward in between the hands or step the feet to the front of the mat. Inhale, find length into the spine. Exhale, fold inwards. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up to the sky. And exhale, hands back through heart. Let's go full speed. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, lengthen into the spine. Exhale, stepping or hopping back, high plank. Exhale, lower and hover, chaturanga or lower all the way down to the mat. Inhale, cobra or upward facing dog. Roll over the toes, lift the heart. And exhale, downward facing dog. 3 breaths, inhale. Exhale, 1. Inhale. Exhale, 2. 1 last big breath. Exhale, 3. Look forward between the hands or step or hop the feet to the front. Inhale, lengthen into the spine. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up. And exhale, hands back through heart. Final round. Inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, folding forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, lengthen Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, planting the hands, stepping back or hopping back, high plank. Exhale, chaturanga. The inhale lifts you upward facing dog, and the exhale takes you back to your downward facing dog, and breathing 3 breaths. Inhale. Exhale, slowing down the exhales. 2 more breaths. Inhale. Exhale, don't collapse into the shoulders, keep spreading through the upper back. 1 last breath. Look forward in between the hands, we'll step or hop the feet. Inhale, lengthen into the spine. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up. And exhale, hands back through heart. Bending into the knees, knees squeeze together. Send the hips down towards the heels as you inhale, reach the arms all the way up to the sky. We'll come into a chair pose. We're going to hold this chair pose for 3 breaths. Feel free to separate the feet hips at distance if that suits you better. Shift the weight back into the heels. Taking 1 last breath, neutrality into the hips. Exhale, fold over the legs. Inhale, lengthen into the spine. Exhale, planting the hands down, step both feet back, high plank. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg reaches all the way up to the sky. We'll come into a 3-leg dog. Feel the extension through that right heel as the inner thighs squeeze towards each other. Notice if you naturally want to shift the weight into the left hand. Keep the weight evenly spreading between both shoulders. As you exhale, rounding knee to nose, hold and hover. Inhale, right leg sweeps up to the sky. Exhale, rounding knee to nose, hold. Inhale, right leg reaches up to the sky, keep a playful spirit. Exhale, rounding knee to nose. Inhale, right leg reaches up to the sky. Exhale, rounding knee to nose. This time, step the foot all the way through in between the hands. Stay on the fingertips. Maybe you take blocks if you need to. As you inhale, you start to straighten out through that front leg. Bow the chest down, relax the head. Keep the length into the spine. Slight bend if you need to. And then re-bend into the front knee. Heart expands forward. There, straightening out through that leg. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Re-bend into the front knee. Inhale, chest and heart opens. Straightening out through the front leg, opening through the hamstring, keeping the hips square, last round. And slowly inhale, reach the heart and the chest forward. Left hand stays down, inhale, right arm reaches up. We're coming into a twist. Take a big breath in. Big breath out. And planting the right hand down onto the floor, stepping back, high plank. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, the left leg reaches up to the sky. Feel the extension. Exhale, rounding knee to nose. Inhale, left leg reaches up to the sky. Exhale, rounding knee to nose. Really squeeze and spread the shoulder blades wide. Inhale, extend the leg. Exhale, rounding knee to nose, lots of core. Inhale, extend that left leg up. Exhale, rounding knee to nose. Step the foot all the way through in between the hands. Stay on the ball of that back foot, making sure the left knee is over the ankle. So the left hip is back, the right hip is forward. Fingertips to the ground or hands on blocks. You inhale, you straighten out through the legs. Fold. Exhale. Inhale, we bend into the front knee, heart lifts up. Slowly, slowly straightening out through the leg, heart bows down. Inhale, extend out through the crown of the head, shoulders draw back. Last round, straightening out through the leg. Exhale, fold. Rebend, inhale. And slowly, right hand down, inhale, left arm reaches up, finding a twist. Take a big breath in. And a big breath out. Slowly, left hand plants down to the floor, step it back, high plank. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. Let's take a big breath in through the nose. And a big breath out. Look forward in between the hands. We'll step or hop the feet to the front of the mat. Inhale, lengthen into the spine. Exhale, fold inwards. Bending into the knees, Utkatasana, chair pose. Inhale, arms reach all the way up and overhead. Squeeze those knees together. Send the hips slightly lower. Slightly lower. Lift the heart a little higher. Breathe. Take one last in breath. Straighten out through the legs. Exhale, hands through heart center. Big breath in. Big breath out. We're going to go for just a bit of a warrior sequence. Inhale, reach both arms all the way up to the sky. Exhale, folding over the legs. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, planting the hands down, stepping back, high plank. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg reaches up to the sky. This time, exhale, rounding knee over towards the left elbow or left tricep. Inhale, right leg reaches up to the sky. Exhale, rounding knee over towards the left elbow, left tricep. Inhale, leg reaches up to the sky, last round. Exhale, rounding knee over towards the left elbow. Inhale, leg reaches up to the sky. Exhale, rounding knee to nose. Step the foot all the way through in between the hands. Stay on the ball of that back foot. This time, inhale, start to rise up, crescent lunge. Hands can stay through heart. You're welcome to have a slight bend into the back knee or arms reach all the way up to the sky. And take 2 breaths. Inhale. Exhale, we bend into that knee. And slowly, on your next exhale, spin on the ball of that back foot. Turn the hips, the shoulders towards the side. Arms reach out into a warrior two as the shoulders drop away from the ears. Really feel the lift up through the lower back, the middle back, the upper back, spreading through the shoulder blades and extending it out through the fingers. As you roll that right knee towards the back wall behind you, and the gaze is soft. Take one last breath. Flip the front palm up to the sky and inhale, reverse your warrior. And take a big inhale. Exhale, slowly straightening out through that front leg. We're coming into Trikonasana, triangle pose. Maybe shortening your stance if you need to. Hips and shoulders are square towards the side of the room. Right arm reaches forward and the right hip moves back behind you as the extension through the right side body. And right hand plants down. Maybe it's the shin, maybe it's the ankle, maybe it's just hovering off that front foot. And breathe. Let's take 2 more breaths. Full inhale. Exhale. One last breath. And slowly gaze down towards the floor. Inhale, start to rise all the way back up to center. Flip the front palm up and inhale, reverse triangle. And take a big breath in. Big breath out. Slowly, slowly coming back to center. Hands come onto the hips. We're going to turn our hips and our shoulders towards the front of the mat. As you walk the left toes out towards the side, and the left toes are turning slightly inwards, the heel is slightly outwards. So we can really start to find this pyramid pose stance. Inhale, start to lift up through the chest. Exhale, hinging from the hips slowly. Imagine someone's pulling you back from your hips and someone's pulling you from the crown of your head as the shoulders release and relax. And coming forward, maybe keeping the hands onto the hips or planting the hands or the fingertips down onto the floor. Inhale, lengthen into the spine. Exhale, fold inwards, walking the hands even further as you fold. And you might keep this bend into the right knee, especially if the hamstring's really, really, really tight today. And taking one last breath. Slowly inhale, lengthen into the spine. Exhale, walking the hands forward. So bend into the knee if you didn't have hands onto the floor already. We're going to shift the weight forward into the front foot. Walk the hands forward so they're directly underneath the shoulders. You might take blocks if you need to. And the left leg reaches up towards the sky. We're coming into a standing split. As you inhale, you lengthen into the spine. As you exhale, you fold inwards, maybe walking the hands closer towards that standing leg. You might even take the right hand behind the right heel. You might take the left hand behind the right heel. And it's called a standing split, but it never needs to look like a standing split. So your leg might be just a few inches off the ground. It might be all the way up to the sky, and it might look like a split. Take one last breath. Slowly, slowly, bending into that right knee. Start to sneak that left foot back, and the ball of the foot plants down onto the floor. Coming into a low lunge this time. The knee drops down onto the floor, tuck the toes under. And inhale, start to rise up into an Anjaneyasana. Hands come through heart or arms reach up to the sky. And you might keep the gaze forward. You might take the gaze all the way up to the ceiling. And take one last breath. And slowly arms circle out to the side and they plant down onto the floor, framing that front foot. We'll start to straighten out through that front leg. Toes lift up towards the sky. As you inhale, you lengthen. As you exhale, you fold. Half Hanumanasana. We've done a lot of work on that right hamstring. So just notice if you have a little bit more space into that right hamstring. And then you exhale, release. Taking one last breath. Rebending into the front knee. And tuck the back toes under. Lift the back knee off the ground, left hand stays down. Inhale, right arm reaches up, a twist. And you're welcome to stay here. You might roll onto the outer edge of that left foot, roll onto the outer edge of that right foot, maybe sending the right foot on top of the left, coming into a full side plank. You're welcome to revisit the modified side plank that we soar slightly earlier, or stay in that twisted crescent lunge. One last breath, maybe sweeping right arm up and over. And slowly planting right hand down onto the floor, coming back to plank. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take a big breath in once you get to this downward facing dog. And a big breath out. Let's go straight for the other side, and then I'll allow you to rest in a child's pose afterwards. Inhale, left leg reaches up to the sky, three-leg dog. Exhale, rounding knee over towards the right elbow, right tricep. Inhale, left leg reaches up to the sky. Exhale, rounding. Inhale, leg reaches all the way up. Exhale, knee over towards the right elbow, right tricep, hold. Inhale, left leg reaches up to the sky. Exhale, rounding knee to nose, step the foot all the way through. Stay on the ball of that back foot as you inhale, rise up, crescent lunge, hands through heart, or arms reach up to the sky as the shoulders descend down. And that right heel is moving back behind you. You can have a bend into the knee if you need. And just breathe. One last breath. And then spin on the ball of that back foot, turn the hips and the shoulders towards the side. We'll open into a warrior two. Chest and heart is expansive, but the ribs are slightly hugged in. Core is completely engaged as the knee moves towards the left side of the mat. And taking one last breath. As you inhale, you rise up ever so slightly. As you exhale, coming back into the pose. And from here, straighten, flip the front palm up, inhale, reverse your warrior. We did go for a reverse warrior. And take a breath. Exhale, slowly coming back to center, straighten out through the front leg. Maybe walking the back toes in. Left fingertips move forward. Left hand plants down, inhale, right arm reaches up to the sky. Trikonasana. And just breathing in this pose. Really kicking that back heel into an imaginary wall behind you, so you can really fire up that right hip as you keep that left hip hugging in, and the extension really happens from the side body. And gaze down towards the mat. Inhale, start to rise all the way back up to standing. We'll flip the front palm up and inhale, reverse triangle. And take a big breath in. And big breath out. Slowly, slowly coming back to center. From here, taking the hands onto the hips, and we'll turn the hips and the shoulders towards the front of the mat and step the right toes just slightly off the center line of your mat, so you can really allow that right hip to move forward, the left hip to move back, and the right toes are turning slightly inwards. Feel fully anchored through the feet, and then inhale, start to lift up through the chest. Exhale, hinging from the hips, folding forward. Pyramid pose. And the hands can stay onto the hips, or they can come onto the floor. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold. And you might have a bend into the knee, you might start to straighten it. And just allow almost the right shoulder and the right side of the body to twist towards that left leg as you fold deeper, relaxing the head. And breathe. And 2 more breaths. And 1 last breath. And bending into that left knee, and walking the hands out if they're not there already. Slowly start to shift the weight forward into that front foot. The back leg lifts all the way up to the sky as the crown of the head moves down towards the floor, coming into a standing split. And what normally happens in a standing split is the leg likes to reach out to the side in this external rotation. So opening through the hip, can we keep the hips square? So it's really going to protect our lower back. Maybe taking the left hand onto the heel, maybe taking the right hand onto the heel, whatever you feel that you need in this pose. And slowly Bending into the left knee, sneak that right foot back, coming onto the ball of that right foot. Drop that back knee down to the floor and tuck the toes under. Inhale, start to rise up, hands through heart, or arms reach up to the sky, Anjaneyasana. Allow the front ribs to move back towards the back ribs, towards the back wall, pressing into that left leg, and then melting that right hip further down towards the floor. One last breath. And circling both hands back and placing the hands down onto the floor, framing that front foot, start to extend out through the front leg. And left toes point up towards the sky. As you inhale, you lengthen. As you exhale, you fold. And maybe keep walking the hands out. And taking one last breath, half Hanumanasana. And rebending into the front knee. We'll tuck the back toes under, lift the back knee off the ground, firming up through the inner thighs. Keep the right hand down and inhale, left arm reaches up, twist. And feel free to stay here in this twist, or gaze down towards that right hand, come onto the outer edge of that right foot, outer edge of that left foot, maybe stay here, or take that left foot, stack it on top of the right. Maybe arm reaches up and overhead. Maybe gaze lifts up to the sky. And almost take the toes to touch and have a slight separation through the heels. Embracing any wobbles. And slowly planting left hand down, coming back into your plank pose. Exhale, Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. And I promised you a child's pose, so drop the knees to the ground. Take the toes to touch, send the hips towards the heels. And smoothing the inhales, the exhales. And the inhales can match the exhales. And take one last big breath in. One last big breath out. And slowly, slowly coming up to a kneeling position. So we'll come up to a kneeling position, hips directly stacked on top of the knees. You might pad up your mat and place your knees onto the padding of the mat. We're going to go for a side body stretch before we head into a camel pose. So coming up to your kneeling position, slight scoop of the tailbone, core is engaged, lengthening into the spine. We're going to take that right foot out towards the side, and the ankle is in line with the left knee, and the right toes are pointing forward. And you come to standing up tall, making sure that the shoulder is directly on top of the hip. Inhale, reach both arms all the way up to the sky. Exhale, taking that right hand down that right leg. You start to lean up and over towards the right side of your mat. So we're really trying to find a lot of length into the side body. We've really strengthened, and now we're lengthening into the side body. And taking one last breath. And inhale, slowly releasing. We'll switch sides. The right knee comes in. Left leg reaches out towards the side, and the heel is in line with that right knee. Inhale, reach both arms all the way up to the sky. As you exhale, the left hand floats down that left leg, and the right arm reaches all the way up and over. Keep scooping that tailbone under. It will allow you to get a lot more space into the side body. You might notice that you have a lot of tension and a lot of tightness in the side body. I always do. One last breath. It's a really great pose just to release all of that. And inhale, slowly coming back to centre. Coming back into that kneeling position. Hands come onto the lower back and drop the shoulders away. Start to lift up through the chest. You might stay here. You might tuck the toes under. You might send the hands onto the heels and lift up through the chest. And just breathe. Let's take 2 more breaths. Last breath. And slowly hands come onto the hips, we'll rise all the way back up. And just come to sitting on your heels, hips towards heels. Closing off your eyes, take a big breath in. And a big breath out. And let's go for Ustrasana, camel pose number 2. It's reaching the arms all the way back behind you. Inhale, start to lift upwards through the chest. And maybe staying here, maybe tucking the toes under. You might keep the toes untucked. Whatever you feel that feels right for you in this variation, you might skip camel altogether and you might say, I need a bridge pose. So anything that's going to open your heart, it might even be an upward facing dog, anything that's calling you. And keep allowing the hips to move forward as the heart reaches up. 1 last breath. And the hands come back onto the lower back. As you inhale, you rise all the way back up. As you exhale, hips sink down towards the heels. Take a big breath in through the nose. And a big cleansing breath out. And inhale, coming back, reaching the arms all the way around. Inhale, start to lift upwards through the chest. And coming into our final version of this heart opener. So any variation that suits you best. Two more breaths. And slowly on your next inhale, the hands come onto the hips. The head is the last thing to come up. Hips towards heels. Take a big breath in. And a big breath out. Let's just walk the hands forward. Come into a child's pose. Make it a wide knee child's pose. Just start to almost round a little bit into the spine, but we don't want to compress it, we want to lengthen it. And taking one last breath. And slowly coming up to that kneeling position. We'll extend both legs out in front of you. Placing the soles of the feet down onto the floor, send the hips towards the heels. And we'll come to lying on our backs. So extend the arms all the way forward. And start to roll all the way down, vertebrae by vertebrae, lower back and middle back and upper back. Once you get there, hug both knees into the chest softly. And take the sole of that left foot down onto the floor. Keep the right knee hugged into the chest. Extend that right leg up towards the sky, maybe flexing, pointing or flointing the toes. And maybe extending that left leg out or keeping the sole of the foot down onto the floor. Start to walk the hands up that right leg. You might take the hands to the ankle, maybe it's the shin. You might even hook your two-piece fingers around the big toes. Breathing more space into that hamstring. And we've done a lot of work on the hamstrings today, so just notice if you have a little bit more openness than you did at the very beginning of yoga practice. One last breath. As you exhale, draw that right knee into the chest. We're going to cross the body, taking the right knee all the way over towards the left side of the mat. And coming into this gentle supine twist. And trying to plant down through both shoulder blades. It's okay if the right knee needs to lift off a little bit. Just allow the breath to really fully move through every part of the body. One last breath. And exhale, slowly drawing that knee back into the chest. Draw the left knee back into the chest. And planting the sole of that right foot down to the floor, extending that left leg up to the sky, interlacing the fingers behind the thigh or the calf. Maybe staying here, just drawing that left knee closer in towards you. You might extend that right leg out. Maybe hooking peace fingers around the big toes, whatever you did on the other side, but keep drawing that right hip down towards the mat. And don't allow the left hip to hike up towards the shoulder. Keep it in line with the right hip. One last breath. As you exhale, you draw that knee into the chest, crossing the body. This time, that left knee is moving all the way over to the right side. Extending left arm out. Supine twist. Allow the exhales to be twice as long as the inhales. And breathing in and breathing out. And softening the pose. And softening the jaw, the eyelids, the back of the head. As you exhale, slowly releasing, hug both knees into the chest. Let's go for a final happy baby pose. Knees drop towards the armpits. You take hold of the backs of the knees, all the soles of the feet. And maybe staying completely stationary or rocking a little bit from side to side. Hug both knees into the chest. Give yourself a big, full inhale. And as you exhale, extend the right leg down the mat. Extend the left leg down the mat. Turn both palms up towards the sky. We'll enter into our final resting pose, Shavasana. Allowing you to fully surrender into the mat. And just give yourself some gratitude for finding strength and flexibility within the body. And just know that you are strong, you are flexible. And the more you turn up onto your yoga mat, the more strength and flexibility you're going to create into the body, but also into the mind. The strength into the mind allows us to tackle some things in our life that come our way that might be quite tricky, we might find really hard. And flexibility within the mind allows us to go with the flow. And finding a little bit more ease. And to not be so rigid. Let's take a few more moments in silence in our final resting pose. Slowly, just start to deepen into the breath. And start to wiggle the fingers and the toes. On an inhale, find a full body stretch. As you exhale, draw both knees into the chest. Roll all the way over to our right side. And slowly coming up to a comfortable seated position on your mats, facing forward. And take your hands through heart center, bowing your chin towards your chest. Just give yourself some gratitude for the time that you've spent on your mats today, nourishing your minds, your bodies, sharing your energy, your presence. I bow deeply to you all. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. Namaste.